You know what's annoying? Packing. Because in real life, along with Western RPGs, you can't carry everything, or if you do in Western RPGs, you get slowed down considerably. Why can't things just be more like JRPGs and have bottomless bags? This is annoying. Hey everyone, how's it going? To Level here to talk about why I prefer JRPGs over Western RPGs. So, yeah, just to be clear, I love RPGs of all kind. I play all types of them. Doesn't matter if they're action, if they're turn-based, if they're strategy, if they're top-down isometric view, if they're hack and slash. I love RPGs of all kinds, but I do prefer JRPGs over everything else, and yeah, I'm just going to tell my reasons why. So yeah, no rambling here, let's just begin now. So the first part that I prefer for JRPGs are stories and their presentation with their stories, because yes, JRPGs have a lot of those cliches, a lot of amnesia storylines, though I feel like every game has an amnesia storyline now. Like, wouldn't surprise me if there's some NASCAR game out there where you're just driving all of a sudden and you wake up in the middle of a race not knowing where you are. Like, wouldn't surprise me if there's some story like that out there. But yeah, I just love the stories of JRPGs, because for Western ones, I feel like, especially for open world stuff, a lot of Bethesda stuff, Fallout, and Elder Scrolls, that sometimes they get away from the actual main quest. A lot of Western style games are to explore, do so many side quests, look in caves, things like that. But JRPGs, I love how, I am more of a linear kind of brain rate. I like just going from point A to point B, knowing what my objective is. Not that I don't enjoy open world stuff too, but it just makes it easier to follow along. I love, I love the cliches of JRPGs too. I love taking down the gods, and I, as much as amnesia is kind of annoying for every game, it's always interesting to find out, like, okay, what is your main character's backstory or someone else's backstory, right? And really love that. And then for presentation side, I love cutscenes in JRPGs, because for Western ones, the big difference I find with those is it's a lot of their cutscenes is about kind of conversations, and a lot of you're directing where you want the action to kind of go, right? But for JRPGs, you're watching a movie, you're watching these spectacular battles, the spectacular just, particle effects and all the magic being used. I love these cutscenes. So yeah, that's a big reason why I do prefer JRPGs over Western RPGs. And then next would be the characters themselves. I love the designs of, all the JRPG characters. I, as much as a lot of them don't like to wear clothes and all that, that's sort of what makes them super appealing, right? You want, you love these characters, you love seeing what they could do. They're very likable. Now, Western RPGs have amazing characters too, just I like JRPG ones a bit more, right? I find they have a lot more personality. Western is a bit more serious with their stuff. Even if you have a character who's more of a joker, sarcastic, it's still kind of serious tone, right? Where JRPGs, you're always kind of just having fun, even whether you have a serious character or one who's just, making jokes all the time, or very just enthusiastic, very joyful, right? I really love that, right? And yeah, just so many amazing characters, though. Limmel, was that her name in Star Ocean 4? I will say she's like the worst character I've ever met in any game ever, not just JRPGs, right? But for the most part, you got really fun characters, and, especially just look at the Yakuza Like a Dragon series. Like, there's hardly, it's tough to pick a character that you don't like in that series. They're all amazing in that one. And then the next point I have is the music, the soundtrack. Man, do JRPGs have the most beautiful soundtracks in the world, right? And, again, there's a lot of great video game soundtracks, a lot of great Western RPG soundtracks, right? But I think the big difference I find with JRPGs is I can pick out, like, if someone plays 5 seconds of a certain song, I can pretty much pick out which game that's from. Might even be able to say what the name of that song is. I love that characters have their own themes, right?
Nice to meet you again.
Again, huh?
What? You don't remember?
That is our dream!
Then I have no choice but to stop you!
And it just creates such a personal feeling for whether you're going in battles, whether you're having a conversation with someone, the music, the soundtrack in these games, whether you go old school and have kind of that synthetic sort of track, or you have games now with that big orchestra playing. It's just amazing to listen to, and I love that about JRPGs. Like, there's only maybe a handful of JRPGs that I can maybe name that have bad soundtracks, because that's the thing, if there's a bad JRPG out there, most likely the soundtrack is still fantastic in it. So yeah, I just love the music in these games. And next we have graphics, and now Western ones, they have some amazing looking games, and a lot of them have kind of that realistic look to them. A lot of the times they'll scan actors that come onto their games and everything. You get that a lot with the Yakuza stuff too, right? But I love the variety of graphics that you get with JRPGs. You got your pixel art games, you got, of course, the HD stuff from Square, and with that whole bloom effect, you have, your anime style, you have just all these different styles that you can mix and mash all together, right? Whether you have more realistic looking visuals like we're seeing with Final Fantasy games now, or you just have this old school pixel art style. I love it. And I think the big thing too is when you get those realistic looking ones, playing Final Fantasy VII Remake, Rebirth, all that, I just love the particle effects you get from using magic from any enemies you're fighting. I love the look of it, because even though it has a more grittier or realistic tone to it, it still has those great particle magic effects that just make the game blow up and glow to me, right? So yeah, I just love the variety of different styles you get for JRPGs. Now, the next one I have, I would say, is more like a tie-ish, but I do prefer the JRPG side, and that's just towns, cities, and environments you get to explore, because for the environments themselves, they are usually bright, colorful, beautiful to go through. You get many different varieties of areas you go to. You got your grassy fields, you got your desert areas, you got your ice areas, your fire areas. I really love that. Again, Western ones have a lot of great environments too, but I do feel they have a lot more of a grittier feel to them, and there's definitely JRPGs like that, but again, you get the variety of different, types of styles and everything. And yeah, towns, cities, I find they do a much better job in JRPGs than Western ones, I feel. Because the biggest thing that I find with JRPGs is you have that cliche of going to a town, sleeping at the inn, healing, right? And that also sort of creates this feeling of like they want you to be in this town. Like all the townspeople want you to stay here. They want you to see the city. So stay overnight at the inn and explore what you can see, right? Western ones I find is a lot of, okay, you're staying here for, you know, just temporarily, but after you're going away, right? And that's sort of the big difference I find with JRPGs, because yeah, it's a lot more inviting. It's a lot more, hey, take your time and, you know, talk to these characters, and even when you leave, you'll probably come back at some point, especially if it's like a big hub city, right? And I just love that about JRPGs. So many iconic places to find and explore, and just towns, cities, castles, all that to stay in. I love it so much. So the next one I have is gameplay and bosses. So for gameplay, you have variety of, you know, your turn-based, your action, and different types of styles, right? Of like tactical turn-based or turn-based with action prompts, right? And, you know, Western RPGs have this too for sure, though I feel most of them are kind of more action-oriented. There's some turn-based stuff, but I find a lot of their turn-based stuff is a lot more like your Baldur's Gate stuff, right? But for JRPGs, the big thing that I find for the difference is they want you to battle. They want you to gain all this experience and, you know, level up and things like that. Western RPGs are done a bit differently, so that sort of aspect in gameplay I find isn't as important. You know, like Western RPGs, a lot of it is about your conversations, socializing, and, you know, kind of controlling the action, right? Where JRPGs, you're battling like 1,000+ battles at a time. You're, you know, so you need a gameplay loop that's fun and addictive, right? Because if you got a game that's 50 to 100+ hours long, well, it better be fun all the way through, right? So I do prefer the gameplay of JRPGs. And then for bosses, that's something that Western RPGs really struggle at, I find, because a lot of bosses they put in are kind of defeated the same way. There's not, you know, like some games do it better than others, but I find like bosses are a bit lackluster for Western RPGs, but for JRPGs, man, they are fantastic. You got different strategies you have to do for each of them, elemental attacks, right? And you know, just figuring out kind of what their attacks are and kind of strategizing around that. And, you know, a lot of bosses will have a certain gimmick to them too, so that you have to change your strategy even more. And I just love that. Like, bosses are so thrilling in JRPGs, and yeah, it's just really fun. And even though you get a bit of an annoying cliche with like end game stuff and having like 10 forms of the final boss or whatever, it's still super fun, and I love it. And then the next point I have, which was part of my skit, is just the infinite inventory stuff. So of course JRPGs, you don't have like, you can't carry everything. Like, you'll have a limit of usually 99 of something, but you can still pick up a lot of things. And, you know, some games are a bit more limited, like Star Ocean games often have like 15 you can carry of something, and but still, you can carry so much without any sort of penalties. Western RPGs, you can still carry a lot, but they try to make it a bit more realistic by having like weight on certain items, or you know, like inventory space, things like that. And can get kind of annoying to manage when you just want to pick up everything and go on your way, right? And I love that about JRPGs. So just, it makes no sense. It'll never make sense why you can carry all this stuff, especially with this, you know, equipment they're wearing and everything like that. But man, I just love that. I love that I don't have to worry about inventory management usually, right? And it's just a lot of fun for me, and yeah, it just lets me focus on the game itself. And then the next point I have are just weapons along with ultimate weapons that you get in JRPGs. So this is another big thing that I think JRPGs do much better than Western ones, because for Western RPGs, I find you don't have to really shop a whole lot in them, because you'll have certain side quests where you'll get another better weapon and things like that, and they usually don't have too many ultimate stuff. Like, there's some side quests and everything that will have that, but I find Western RPGs are pretty much like, as you're battling, you might come across a new sword that's better than your previous one and things like that, right? But JRPGs, they really do encourage you to go to towns to buy the next, equipment, right? Your next weapon, your next armor, increasing your stats that way. Or you can make it harder on yourself by not increasing your attack power or anything like that, right? Like, you can choose not to buy anything, but it just makes it feel like you're progressing a lot more, right? Where you're just going to a new town, it's like, okay, here's new equipment for me to get, so this is what I should have now. And the other thing is, yeah, ultimate weapons. I love how JRPGs do this. Of course, Final Fantasy is really big on these ultimate weapons, right? Of, iconic weapons too, where you're doing like these big side quests that some of them, for sure, like Final Fantasy X, okay, the celestial weapons, man, those main games are brutal, but man, I just love that these games have this, that these games have these iconic weapons in them, and I think that's something they do really well for JRPGs, is creating weapons that are iconic for certain characters. And so those are all my thoughts of why I prefer JRPGs over Western RPGs, so let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you agree or disagree with me? What other points do you prefer JRPGs over Western ones? Or are you on the other side where you really enjoy Western RPGs way more than JRPGs? I would love to hear all your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you as always for watching, really appreciate it, and I'll see you next time. Thanks everyone, have a great rest of your day. Hey everyone, thanks for watching, really appreciate it. If you enjoyed what you saw, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to see more. Also follow me on X, Twitch, Bluesky, and I am back on Facebook now. All links will be on my About page, so follow me there. Even if it's just for the skits I do, I need someone to follow me. Okay, probably not the best way to encourage people, but anyways, I'll see you next time. Have a great day, everyone!